Would you believe it's Dr. Doom?
What's on your evil mind?
Hold your insulting tongue and mark my words well.
How about this rumor that you are really hired, Mr. Stark?
Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I'm your host, Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter and Blue Sky. You can find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter and Blue Sky. You can find me at CPCaps on Instagram.
South Carolina with Columbia down the way.
And sound effects you've heard come from none other than our man in Brooklyn One, Agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads.
What's up, everybody? Co-hosting from the Borough of Kings, live and direct.
Hello, Brooklyn!
I'm just a kid from Brooklyn.
Indeed. And you can find this here show on the Cold Leather Podcast Network. That's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
And you can find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Cold Leather Podcast Network SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, because that will help people find our show.
Indeed. Well, folks, we're just going to kick it off and running because we got a good stack of books this week. Back to norm, one would say, after the beginning of the year. So we're going to start off with the books that we have in common, which are, granted, is only a couple, with Batgirl, number 15.
Batgirl number 15 is published by DC. It's written by Tate Bromble, with art by Steven Segovia, colors by Rain Barreto, and letters are by Steve Wan. So we pick up literally right where we left off at the end of issue number 14, and we have... I'm going to speak in very broad terms. We have a couple of turns. One might call them heel turns if you're wrestling inclined. And, again, we have some sibling rivalry between Cassie and her erstwhile up until, heretofore until now unknown brother. And there's still some stuff going on between them. There's the unacknowledged sibling rivalry that keeps popping up, and we run into at least one sequence where the brother, whose name immediately escapes me, that tells
Tenji.
you that he may not be, what's it? Tenji, right. I was about to say, maybe he's not the most memorable named character yet. You know what I mean? He's, I remember the character, his name will immediately escape me. So at the end of the day, we'll see how far they take this particular character and his story. But, it's definitely worth keeping up with. And with that, I'll hand it off to Roddykat.
And I was about to say, you say that because I remember his actual name, and I keep forgetting his quote unquote his hero name, his code name, whatever. I think it's like Jade.
What
Tiger
hero name? He has one?
Yeah, he does. Mm-hmm. It's like Jade Tiger or something like that. I can't remember what it is.
Just so mostly forgettable. I think that's my biggest problem with the character so far. But I know his origin. I know the whole point of him. So that's probably the most memorable part right now.
Yeah. I mean, and I assume if he comes out of Batgirl, or he continues to be a supporting character for Cass, or he, somebody else ends up using him in his own story, or whatever the case may be, where, you can kind of broaden him out a little bit more, or fill him out a little bit more, then, we'll have to see about that. But yeah, his origin story is enough to where it's like, you know what, there should be more to this character than, you know, than his, I guess, his forgettability at this point. But you know what, like I said, we'll see how that goes. That being said, though, but yeah, Cass is wrestling with a lot of things in during the course of the story. You know, she's having nightmares, not sleeping all that well. You know, she's kind of struggling with the fact that she thinks, well, she thinks she's one thing, and she, you know, people are telling her, like, yeah, she could be more than that, and she's not her mother, but she's still kind of struggling with that. And I think that's and where Agent 70 says sibling rivalry is it's kind of less that than one, the fact that she's used to being alone, and as he said, did not know he had a brother. She had a brother who coincidentally is a brother, but but also the fact that she, like I said, she's wrestling with a couple of things. She's got people in her, not necessarily in her ear, but in her mind or somewhere roundabout. Could, you know, it could be remnants of her mother, or could be something spiritual. They're still kind of teasing that fact about. That's kind of telling her different things. And also, as Agent 70 said, yeah, there's definitely some turns that happen. There's definitely a turn that happens in this, especially with the one character who, as I said in my notes, is like, oh, this character is going to be MVP in this issue, but. Or because even when the characters kind of was doing what they were doing, something didn't seem right. Especially when the character first turns up, where the character first turns up in this issue, and then later ignorance of the fact. But you know, like I said, all of that, I assume all of that is going to be explained in the next issue as. Yeah, there's some things end up happening. It gets found out in this issue, and as I would say, or if you're a fan of Firefly, curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal. Which it wasn't so sudden, but it was definitely inevitable. The way things were going in this book. But that's, you know, Tenji is a funny character because it's like, yeah, he's very idealistic. Because of his upbringing and
more naive, really.
Yes, that I didn't want to use that word, but yes, it is definitely applicable.
His naivete is tough to handle.
Yeah, it's kind of out there because he was brought up a certain way, so he's had these ideas. He even says in his
bird is an understatement, right?
Yeah, that could also be used as well. And given that, so the way he handles things is different from how Cass handles things, because she's grown up a whole totally different ways and sees the world in a whole different ways, and even has kind of ways to dope out, you know, situations, whereas, you know, he's kind of out here now trying to figure it out. But yet still trying to stay within his moral bounds. Even in this issue, he's like, he starts getting into his feels about, you know, a situation that happened in the issue, but then turns right around to, oh wait, something's going on. I'm like, that was fast. Like, you didn't even give yourself a time to be in your feels. But all right, cool. So a couple of conversations and here and that. So like I said, we're leading to probably some other revelations in the course of the next issue or two. So, and we're still here for it because, you know, the book continues to be, you know, interesting enough to be like, you know what, I know Cass has had a book previous to this, but I feel like this is, and I don't think I've ever read it, but I feel like we've learned more about her here than I think we ever have in any other book that she's been in. Maybe even outside of that last the book, her own solo book. So, and therein lies that. And with that, we're going to move to the next book that we have in common, which is Nova Centurion, number 3.
Nova Centurion number 3 is written by Jed McKay, with art by Alvaro Lopez and Mateo Delafonte. Colors are by Mattia Iacono, and letters are by our favorite lettering paisan VC's Joe Caramagna. So in this issue, at the risk of having Nova's character backslide past all of the development that the character has had since Annihilation, right? We finally get a little bit of, oh, I can figure something out as long as I have a chance to think this through. And that's actually a welcome, it's a welcome sight, it's a welcome development. It's, hey, we really have not backslid all the way through this character development that has taken X number of years to undergo, right? Like the character didn't have a lot of development when we last saw the character in Phoenix, I think. So
That sounds right. Or either that, or well, if you're not counting intergalactic,
Imperial.
Yeah, Imperial. Excuse me.
Right. In terms of Imperial, like I guess the setup for where the character is now was in Imperial, but we last really saw the character before Imperial in the pages of Phoenix.
Right.
So, that was what I think, gave me pause when it came to the character. But I'm glad to see that, we're dealing with what has happened to Richard Rider and the character, in the wake of Imperial. And this is the third issue, and I'm hoping that we get to a decent number in this series. I don't know how long this series is going to last, but hopefully we get to a decent number and and some decent stories get told. What do you think, Roddykat?
Yeah, I suppose this one's going to probably, as long as the sales keep up and the fact that Jed McKay's on it, it's probably going to at least go 12, unless I don't know what Jed McKay's plans for this was, or how far he planned on taking this book and this character.
Right.
But I would assume at least 12, unless like
Or
if he's got a
10,
heart,
right.
yeah, or depending on how he has fashioned this story and where he's whether he wants to continue to take it, or whatever his roadmap is on this one.
Right.
That being said, though, it's kind of funny because the stuff you mentioned about having time to think, it kind of comes with a cheat code, because he ends up employing a Nova method that I don't think we've ever seen before to do, or maybe we haven't, I don't remember, but or at least previous to Imperial, let's put it this way, because I think we did see it there, but he uses that to have his time to think. So Richard Rider historically is never one to really think out things that thoroughly. So
Right.
So as I just said, given the time that he was given to think by the means he was given to do so, was funny because of the thing he says after, right if it comes out of it, which once you read this, you'll understand why that is. But he makes a quip about Earthers being fast thinkers, and like, well, one, that's not that's not always true.
Right.
And even less true with some folks in actuality, but it was still a good jab. But we also found out that Richard is a student of Looney Tunes in this issue,
right,
which was kind of funny to see.
I think it's funny. Just as a quick aside. Hold your thought if you're going to add anything more on this. I just think it's funny that we were discussing my putting together a Marvel Legends New Warriors team.
Mm-hmm.
Just before we were talking about this issue and seeing some obviously elements of character development for this character.
Mm-hmm.
Since Annihilation, since everything that's happened post Annihilation, obviously the destruction of the Nova Corps and everything that's happened since. So, it's interesting to see that there was definitely a risk of, like I said, I hate to reuse the term, backsliding into what the character's, previous status or previous situation was maybe not necessarily being like the hot-headed youngster that he was as a new warrior, but definitely not as seasoned hero and seasoned combat veteran that he became post all of the Annihilation and stuff. So, you know, it's kind of cool to see that, you know, that stuff has not gone away. It has not been changed, but rather just developed upon.
Right. Right. And yeah, because, and Agent 7 says all that because there was a moment in here that is definitely specific to seeing something that like that happening in the course of this issue until, you know, Richard gets a reminder of her like, hey, you've been through a lot. You done some stuff. So
Right.
get out of that thought. Get out of them thoughts.
Exactly.
And get that confidence here that we know you got in there, and you know, and all that experience you got, and that's what kind of leads us into, you know, things that happen in this, which we won't directly get into, but basically he's been dealing with this character apparently from the negative zone that he's dealt with before, which, you know, and this sees that kind of getting dealt with in a way that, hey, you know, we've not seen Nova deal with before, so it was good. It was good, but not without the antagonist kind of leaving him with one little last jab, which I don't know if we'll see anything about again, but nevertheless, you know, it is the case. But, you know, therein leaves us out of the quote unquote, not necessarily the opening arc, but, you know, the opening story of this book, which also kind of makes me wonder, like, well, how long is this book going to last? Because you think that there would have probably, I mean, there are long running books that have done this, employed just like, you know what, get somebody out of the way in the first 2 or 3 issues, and then kind of go from there. And this could very well be with that. So this is not necessarily a hard question of that, but, you know,
Right.
kicking it off. But we see some new additions. We see a thing or two that is probably going to definitely come up in the next issue or two about a thing or two. So there is definitely some things that's going to get gonna continue the story going forward. So like I said, we'll be around to check it out and see what's going on or what's the deal. And with that is takes care of all the books that we have in common. Rapid fire.
All righty, folks. Rapid fire review time. Here we go.
I ain't got time to bleed.
All right, first up is Absolute Batman Arc M Special #1. This is a one-shot published by DC Comics. It's written by Scott Snyder and Frank Thierry with art by Joshua Hickson. Colors are by Roman Stevens and letters are by Clayton Cowles. So this is the absolute version of Arc M, right? And the history of Arc M is told, and it is obviously has hints of and echoes of the Arkham Asylum origin in Batman mainstream comics. But this is a pretty well told alternate, dare I say, ultimate version of the Arkham Asylum origin. And there is one big character reveal here. It's a character who was originally revealed in the mainstream DC universe in the pages of New Teen Titans, but in this absolute universe, this character, it has been revealed in the pages of Absolute Batman. This is definitely a candidate for Kliq of the Week. It's very well told. It's very well done. The pacing in this story is great stuff. It's very much reminiscent of mystery novels with dramatic twist involved. And this is not the first DC book that has a pretty dramatic twist in it this week. Next up is Batman #5, published by DC. It's written by Matt Fraction, with art by Jorge Jimenez. Colors are by Tomo More. Letters are by Clayton Cowles and Jorge Jimenez. So Bruce Wayne and a new supporting character are on a date that they don't think is a date. It might be an undate, but it pretty much plays out like a Bruce Wayne date gone awry, right? But the difference here is that for the most part, our general understanding of Bruce Wayne dates gone awry leave the lady that he's out on a date with in a safe spot and not necessarily tagging along as the action unfolds. Rather, in this issue, the lady friend, this new supporting character, this doctor whose character's name is completely lost on me because I read this yesterday. But I understand the role that she has played so far in the first 5 issues of Matt Fraction's Batman. She is along for the ride. She's along for just about all of the action sequences, and there's a great twist, dramatic twist at the end of the issue when someone jumps in as a guest appearance in this book and throws a giant wrench into Bruce Wayne's status quo. All right. This is definitely a candidate for Kliq of the Week for me. Next up is All New Spider-Gwen, the Ghost Spider #6. It's written by Stephanie Phillips with art by Vaughn Randall. Colors are by Matt Milla and letters are by VC's Ariana Marr. I'm enjoying Stephanie Phillips's take on Spider-Gwen. I'm happy to see Silk playing a role in this. It's a little weird to see Silk in this because she's supposed to be just a slightly younger contemporary to Peter Parker, right? But the role that she plays in this is very much just a slightly older sister type, like sister friend to Gwen. But I'm glad to see her getting some exposure, getting some run in the pages of All New Spider-Gwen. This issue has a pretty fun premise with the reappearance of a 90s spider villain, and we get to see this little group with a new, well, let's just say it's another member of the band that Spider-Gwen and Silk have formed, who is kind of let in on the big secret, so the big secret's not really a big secret anymore. And that's kind of like a very different status quo for this particular book. I'm happy to see this story of Spider-Gwen continue. Next up is Amazing Spider-Man #19. It's written by Joe Kelly with art by Pepe Larraz, colors by Marte Gracia and Marcio Miniz, and letters again by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. Peter is working his way back to, forget reality, but just the world, right? He's working his way back to Earth. And he has to confront what brought him to space. And obviously, this is just a precursor to a bigger fight. But it's nice to see, this version of Peter Parker not necessarily losing his composure, not necessarily losing what makes him Peter Parker, and makes this version of Spider-Man, what gives this version of Spider-Man, kind of some winning qualities, right? When I say that, I really mean that, he doesn't necessarily go the route of, metaphorically injecting himself with venom like Batman did back in the day. So we'll see how this story plays out. This is again part of this alternating issue sequence where one issue is based around Peter Parker and his adventures getting back from space, and the next issue is mostly going to be based upon or centered around Norman Osborn and his trials and tribulations as a spoiler alert, a substitute Spider-Man. That's kind of the gist of it. So I'm kind of waiting for this particular story sequence, story arc to end, but it's been okay. It's not great. It's not setting, it's not piquing my interest for the most part. Last but not least is X-Men number 23. It's written by Jed MacKay with pencils by Tony Daniel. This is his first issue on the book. Inks are by Mark Morales. Colors are by Fair Cifuentes Sujo. And letters are by VC's Clayton Cowell. So this is the very first issue, post Age of Revelation. And everyone thinks Cyclops is bloody mad because he has come back from the Age of Revelation and he is looking to take drastic action to try to prevent the future Age of Revelation from happening. And everyone thinks he's absolutely nuts. It's kind of funny to see everyone's reaction to how Cyclops is acting, and because of some of the twists that were thrown in into Age of Revelation and into who was shunted forward into the Age of Revelation and who came back as a result of the resolution of that particular storyline. There are a couple of twists that are definitely going to continue to have ramifications upon the X books moving forward. I think X-Men is probably going to be the central book that this Age of Revelation fallout is going to center around. I still don't think it's going to convince me to pull it. It's not going to convince me to, pull X-Men as a pull title, but I think I'll continue to read it and stay informed. And that's it for me.
And I noticed the X books have a new banner at the top, Shadows of Tomorrow,
Right.
which I believe this week's Wolverine also has that banner. So, but I was going to ask, and I don't know why I'm asking this question because I figured it's just a thing. But so everybody remembers what happened. Basically, coming out.
It's not that they remember what happened because they didn't go anywhere. Nothing happened to them.
Right.
Nothing. The only person, or one of the only characters that anything happened to was Cyclops.
Okay. And that is because of that finale book, or just in general.
Well, it happened at the beginning. It happened throughout Age of Revelation. There was a spoiler, right? There's an idea that one of the characters, and I missed this because I didn't really read Age of Revelation that closely.
Right.
But it was but the concept was that Hank McCoy and Scott Summers were shunted into the Age of Revelation period. But that's not exactly what happened.
Okay. Gotcha. Like I said, and I know, like I said, House of M and Age of Apocalypse and all that other stuff happened, but it's always weird to know, like, well, okay, so did they actually remember this happening, or did it, this, that, and other? So, okay, cool.
Right. It's just Cyclops.
Right.
And obviously we're dealing with a renaissance for Cyclops because, we're probably going to talk about the Doomsday trailer. Mm-hmm. And, not necessarily that Cyclops was right, but definitely that that there's a little bit more of pro Cyclops depiction. There are more pro Cyclops depictions out there.
Sure. Which is the other thing I was going to mention, because it's like, you know what, coming out of that whole the whole business with the Terrigen business, if you remember that, and he had supposedly had died and all that kind of all the stuff behind that, and the way he was acting around that time was,
Right.
you know, I don't know, I haven't read any of it. This kind of gave me shades of that for some strange reason, outside in a slightly opposite reason or opposite way. But anyway, cool. I may have to catch up on that, I guess, or try to. I don't know. But for my books, we are going to go with a little bit of. Oops. Sorry. ThunderCats Lost, number 10, which is the last issue of this book, sadly, but don't you weep none for these folks. Written by Ed Brisson, art by Rafa Lobasco, colors by Rashawn Curiciano, and letters by Jeff Eckelberry. So it pretty much all comes down to this. You know, the whole premise of this book was that, hey, here was these other Thunderians that had a mission that apparently started before the events of the ThunderCats, book. So they had a mission before that. Things didn't go well. But they still ended up on Third Earth and ended up getting lost, basically. Had a team member who was downed, but we already know where that person is. But they don't know where that person is, but they do know that person is still around, apparently. And as I thought that was going to happen at the end of this book, did not happen, because, like I said, they were being hunted down by a person, and that person finally caught up with them, and things seemed kind of bleak for a whole bunch of folks until, of course, you can kind of read between the lines as to what happened there. But there is a nice little twist to it, because at the end of this, they do get some help, but by a very, very unlikely source. In fact, some would say it is a crossover that I suspected that was coming at some point, but not in the way that it is seemingly happening here. And in that brings the end to this book, but also the epilogue of this book pretty much channels the fact that there is going to be another story for the ThunderCats Lost crew. Another of which may or may not be around for the story, but I guess we'll see when that story happens. Although I suspect, given what happens at the end of this book, I feel like that's probably not going to be the case. But yeah, like I said, this opens the door to another book that is definitely coming, and a crossover with another. Well, it's a crossover with another book that definitely is no longer around, but with a series that is definitely in the same universe as the ThunderCats. I feel like you pretty much can guess which one that is, but you would have to read to see how that all ties together in this issue, or if that interests you. Maybe they'll finally end up with the original ThunderCats at some point, or maybe not. We don't know. Next book for me, and I wish I kind of had a sound flight for this, which now that I think about it, I didn't see one or hear one, but it's the Blue Falcon and Dynomutt, number 5 of 5, because this is the last issue. Written by Jimmy Palmiotti, with art by Pasquale Qualano, colors by Joe Sutil, and letters by Jeff Eckelberry, who seems to be the only one doing letters for Dynamite, but I don't know if that's the case. So this is definitely I don't necessarily want to call it a gritty reboot of Blue Falcon and Dynomutt, but it is definitely a more, I don't think serious is the word for it either, but it's definitely a different, less comical take on the characters than one would know from the old Hanna-Barbera cartoons. In fact, the whole story started with, hey, Blue Falcon is already kind of out there doing stuff. Dynomutt is not Dynomutt, but ends up, during the course of the story, ends up being the case. But it also, almost in a Batman-like fashion, you know, he is almost that effective, but not necessarily that. You know, they say if you give him some time and a plan, Batman's got it. It's not necessarily that, but let's just say Blue Falcon, like, you know, the Space Ghost book, is an effective at what he does, but also still followable in a ways that you will read in this book, because let's just say one of the main adversary of the book is someone who he was intimate with, but didn't catch on to the fact that he was intimate with this person when the revelation in this issue happens. So it was kind of funny, but also there's a couple of things going on. But it was a fun read, or not necessarily fun, but it was a good read. I'll say that. I was surprisingly good read because I wasn't really expecting much out of it during this whole the whole 5 issues, all of which I've read like fairly recently. So, and I would say, yeah, probably reads better like that. I mean, it was, you know, because it was just one contained story. It's not like a week to week thing. So, because if you see this in trade and want to check it out, yeah, do so. That's probably a good idea. But yeah, interesting story. Don't know if we're going to see any more of Blue Falcon and Dynomutt, because it didn't necessarily lend itself to being that case. But it could happen. You know, there could be a breadcrumb there that I did not see or hear. So we'll see. Next up is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Battle Nexus, number 2 of 5. Story by Tom Waltz, Paul Allore, Sophie Campbell, Caleb Goldner, and Eric Burnham, who did the Mr. Ogg backup story. Script by Paul Allore and art by Ben Bishop and Sarah Meyer, who did the Mr. Ogg backup story. The art on that. Let's see. Colors by Luis Antonio Delgado and letters by Tom Napolitano. So this is the whole, hey, Contest of Champions, but, you know, Turtles multiverse type situation. And starting last issue, or at the end of last issue, we had the first bout, which was Leo versus OG Shredder. And what I mean by OG Shredder is actual OG Shredder, as in black and white Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder. And he's even colored in black and white. So, you know, they just went the whole way with it. Cut to this particular issue where, you know, not to give the fight continues and goes a certain way. We get a little bit of exposition on a couple of different fronts, explaining, you know, what's going on here by another turtle variant that is that the boys don't recognize and wouldn't. I'm not even sure. Well, I'm sure that the character does definitely recognize its version, and I suspect that version is going to go up against the version that is in this book that is the primaries here, but we'll see when that happens, because basically what's happening is like, hey, the turtles are getting unfairly pitted against folks that they might have a weakness against, and not necessarily only a weakness against, but, you know, it's like, hey, here's somebody you know, but a different version of this person, or someone you've been, you know, you either let down, wronged, or let die type situation is going on here, as it gets explained in this book. Like I said, it's still worth a read, so I'm not really spoiling anything that won't stop you from reading this if you're interested in that. But at the end of this issue, there's another fight that happens, and if you're into Turtle lore enough that you've read a good bit of the books, the next fight would be interesting if you're into that. And then in the backup story, the Mr. Ogg character, who's like the Mxyzptlk of the Turtles universe, or Mxyzptlk, whatever, I don't care. You know what I'm saying either way. He's kind of holding his own type similar tournament. And the turtles there are basically going up against the Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in this issue, to somewhat humorous effect. So yeah, it's a fun read. like I said, you check it out if any of that what I said is interesting to you. Next up, though, we have another Turtles book, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles times God versus Godzilla, or times Godzilla, whatever you want to call it. Number 205. Story by Tim Seeley, art by Pharaoh Pei, colors by Luisa Antonio Delgado, and letters by Brian Kolek. So yeah, the Turtles got wind of the fact that, hey, kaiju's real, and the foot kind of has something to do with trying to keep him under control. But of course, a Shredder comes to doing some things and causes some havoc, which is the crux of the story. Who and the Shredder unleashed Ghidorah up and on New York for reasons that we don't necessarily find out, but we do. And the Turtle Boys kind of have to deal with that situation, or find out a way from Splinter to deal with that situation. But also, you know, no pun intended, things are still afoot. But also, you know, the doings over in Japan, and likely cameos and folks and kaiju kind of come in and come up in this book, including you know, a diminutive pair of twins who comes hollering at somebody's ear at the end of this for a reason, which means if you know anything about Godzilla lore, you pretty much know who's coming after that. But yeah, another fairly fun read. You know, it was like I thought I had missed out on this issue, but apparently I did not. So I don't know what the scheduling of it is, but maybe they pushed it. Next up, though, Absolute Green Lantern number 10, written by Al Ewing, art by Sid Koshian, colors by Pressy, and letters by Lucas Gattoni. So we begin this issue with a person whose name I don't know, but they felt the need to mention it, who by the name of Todd Rice was in a predicament thanks to Hector Hammond. Then we cut to Joe, who's fighting for her life, like actually, against the somebody who I can't name, but I've just been calling him Goldfinger, even though he's wearing gold everything. Some information comes out and some things happen, and yeah, this book continues to be pretty good. And another character presumably gets born at the end of this, of which I'm not sure if I know about it. If it's I assume it is an established character in the Green Lantern lore, on the primary universe side. That is now getting an absolute version, but we shall see, or I shall probably find out at some point. Who knows? I definitely need to dig in my DC bag a little bit more, but you know, that's a slough of a bag right there. Because as we have said previously, when we were talking about the official history that was Cliff noted a while back, man, DC's got some bunker shit going on. And that, folks, takes care of all the books that I have. Kliqs of the week.
Kliqs of the week.
So I believe you mentioned Absolute Bats Arc M number, your one shot for one of yours, and Batman number 5 also for one of yours.
Yep. I will throw in the Nova Centurion book, and all new Spider-Gwen, the Ghost Spider number 6 as also candidates, but I've already got my pick. How about you?
Let's see, all new Spider-Gwen. We'll show that up for the folks right there. I do have candidates. It's ThunderCats Lost, one of them, because I did not expect I was about to say, I didn't expect what happened at the end. Definitely. Let's see. So that was a curiosity. Nova Centurion, I will definitely go with you on that one, because it was a good way to resolve that situation, and shows a little growth there as well. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Battle Nexus, that was fun, as I said. Honestly, that Blue Falcon and Dynomutt was quite amusing as well. So, I'm trying to find that. That is there. There we go. So I think that's probably Batgirl was pretty good as usual, but I think I'll just keep it to those ones. So what is your click?
I think I'm going to end up going with Batman number 5. I think it's the strongest of the contenders that I named.
Okay. All right. For a second there, I saw, and this is a little inside baseball for folks, but I saw you had X-Men highlighted. I was like, oh, is he going with X-Men? Huh.
I mean, listen, at the end of the day, it's a nice twist that, everyone is trying to figure out what's wrong with Cyclops, and Cyclops is actually the one who seems to be moving in the direction that the that the reader, understands needs to be gone in.
Right.
Whereas, up until recently, Cyclops has never been that character, right?
Right.
Like no one ever, other than the former classic materia, now OJ Purple stuff, because he's a big Cyclops fan. Shout out to him.
Mm-hmm.
That it's very often the case that everyone sees Cyclops as the other side of the wrong side of the argument. Let's put it that way.
Right.
And it's very different to see him on the right side of the argument, yet on the wrong side of everyone else's view on what should be done.
Which, realistically, if you think about the run of X-Men and Uncanny X-Men, that I feel like that's kind of been, or at least the current runs anyway, I feel like that's kind of been a long-running thing. Because there are people who are like, you know what, we don't want you to be like, we don't want to be like you, and you kind of coming at this a different way. At least Rogue was for a second, kind of like you're coming at this stuff kind of the way maybe not, but at the same time, maybe this is just also continuing that, just on a bigger scale. So I don't know. I have to catch up and see. It's also kind of funny the way you explained it. It kind of reminds me. I don't know if it's that meme from was it oh shoot. I can't think it was from a movie. It was like Charlie Day with the boards with the pins on it, and he was like going, like pointing and gesturing that stuff, like it was
right. That was Pacific Rim.
Pacific Rim. That's what I was thought. Yeah. So that meme just kind of came to mind as you were saying that. So like, and that's just Cyclops is on the board just doing all of that, and there are people right. You're losing your shit, huh? So that's kind of funny. But anyway, for myself though, I think I'm gonna go with ThunderCats Lost, because probably for the most because of the potential that the ending of it brings up. That is going to be something of interest to me, and something I felt that was coming. Also, like I said a couple of times previously, so. Just I didn't expect it in to be one in this book, and two the way that it seems to be the case, even if it does happen. But we shall see. And that, folks, is it for the Kliqs of the Week. We're going to get into the news section, but first, an ad read.
Our first ad read of the night is for Blue Apron's meal delivery service. Blue Apron, fresh ingredients and incredible recipes delivered weekly to your door. Skip the grocery store and make incredible meals at home with Blue Apron. Always shipped free right to your home. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can get $30 off your first Blue Apron order. To place your first order with $30 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us. That's cspn.us. Then click on the Keep Our Podcasts free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Blue Apron link and sign up for your first order. Blue Apron through cspn.us. Do it today. And now we get into the news.
cinematic news is about, as we get into about this time, Sebastian Stan is going to join Robert Pattinson in The Batman 2. So
Is that confirmed?
Apparently.
Nice.
Oh, well,
I only mentioned this is because I think it was still in the works or rumored when I last looked at it. But
and actually, that might still be the case here, according to this article. Because it didn't necessarily say definitive, and I don't know. I haven't seen the thing since I've seen this article, and granted, this is a couple of days ago. But yeah, it says he may be headed to the Batman Part 2. Let me see. Let me scroll down a little bit. We already know. We already know another Marvel character, and one, if they had done it right, would have been tied to him. Scarlett Johansson is already there. Is already going to be there. And this article, of course, mentions that. But let's see. Yeah, it doesn't. It kind of dances around. It doesn't necessarily say that it is official yet.
Right.
As a matter of fact, it says down at the bottom, DC Studios had no comment on the casting, and it goes into his representation and all that kind of good mess, as Variety tends to do. So yeah, that's still kind of seemed like it may still be up there, but I feel like it's probably going to happen. That's just me.
Cool.
Next up.
Alrighty, the X-Men. The X-Men Avengers Doomsday trailer finally went online, and it features Cyclops unleashing his powers and Magneto and Professor X as allies. Listen, it's only a few seconds long, but it's still pretty cool. This previously played ahead of Avatar Fire and Ash in theaters, but it's now online for everyone to enjoy.
Which means there's only one more of these that got leaked that's next. I have not watched any of these, admittedly.
Really?
And partially for intentionally.
Hmm.
But I feel some compulsion to, at the very least, watch this one.
This one is cool. You get to see Cyclops in the 91 blue team yellow bandolier costume.
Okay. Nice. So yeah, I might check this one out, but because it was, my thing was, I'm like, we know it's coming. We know we're gonna watch it, so there was really no reason for me to watch any trailer at this point. I mean, normally we'd be like, hey, watch one, sure. But, or at the very least, wait till like an official trailer happens, closer to the movie. But, and the other reason is usually they spoil a lot of shit in these trailers. So I'd rather go in with as fresh eyes as I can for this stuff. Unless they dialed it down, which I doubt it.
They did to a certain extent, right? Because at the end of the day, that's all we're not getting that much information in these trailers. So
Right.
I watch them to help me get hype for it. I'm happy to see people being excited about it. That's really the I guess that's the overall feeling that I've gotten so far.
Right. I'm already excited for it, so I don't need a trailer for that. But yeah, I'm still gonna probably peep this one out at the very least, just to see, just to see the nuggets of what they have in here. Next up, though. Oops.
What's next?
Hold on a second. There we go. Star Trek Discovery sets an impressive franchise first year after its ending, and that's 1 year, after its ending, and that is the fact that it has had not one but two spin-off shows coming off of it. The first show, as folks might know, is Strange New Worlds, and I believe that is still is ongoing right now for another couple of seasons, and the upcoming Star Trek Academy, which is the other spin-off that is coming off of this, and both of these are direct spin-offs of Discovery. So Therein lies the distinction there. They mentioned that whole Section 31 thing from last year, which I still have not watched that movie. But and also there's a nice little timeline of the whole Discovery situation, and or Discovery and Strange New Worlds and Starfleet Academy situation. So just in case you're slightly confused, but there you go. And in that we go to the next story, which is
Miraculous Tales of Ladybug and Cat Noir is getting a live stage show for 2027 World Tour. In an exclusive to Variety, Miraculous Corp and Monlove have partnered to develop a new live stage production based on the global animated franchise Miraculous Tales of Ladybug and Cat Noir, set to launch worldwide in 2027. Let's see here. The stage show will feature an original story and songs incorporating stage to video interaction, acrobatics, aerial choreography, illusion, dance, and puppetry. So apparently since its 2015 debut, Miraculous has become one of the most recognized family entertainment franchises worldwide. And I'm here like, who? But I don't have little kids.
I have definitely seen, like, it's had a show on Netflix. There's definitely had a bunch of comic books and whatnot. So I've definitely seen the name, but I've never
I see
actually
the
watched.
ad, right? No, I
Right.
see the ad.
Right.
They've had Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con ads, prominent New York Comic-Con ads near the Jacob Javits Center in recent years, and I know I've seen friends' kids cosplaying as the characters. So I'm like, all right, I get it.
Right.
You know,
Right.
that's cool.
Right, and therein lies the thing, like you said. It was like, yeah, the little ones definitely are all in on this, because it's like I keep seeing those names, like, wow, this thing is still going, huh? And that's kind of my only thought of it.
Right.
So I guess more power to them. Now we get into a very little bit of anime news.
All righty.
Folks know about this by now because you can hear the millions of voices screaming out in excitement that the Crunchyroll Winter 2026 anime season lineup has been announced, and some stuff has already started up, I believe, this past week. In fact, let's see. This article was updated a couple of days ago. So let's see. Jujutsu Kaisen's coming back. Frieren. Hell's Paradise, My Hero Academia Vigilantes, and Trigun Stargaze is also coming, not coming back, but technically it's coming back. Regardless, the second part of season 3 Fire Force, Golden Kamui. Let's see, there's Sentence to be a Hero, Hanakimi, and a bunch of other stuff that is starting up. And things is the anime folks is getting their anime on. In fact, there's you can see when in this article when some of the stuff is starting up, which is very soon, if not
very soon, like
yes.
this weekend soon.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's good to have, right. It'll be good to have Jujutsu Kaisen back. It'll be good to have Fire Force back. I need to catch up with Frieren. I understand it's pretty good, so I need to add that to the rotation, and so I can watch the new core,
right,
which is out this weekend.
Which one for Fire Force?
No,
I believe so.
No, I'm talking about
Frieren.
Frieren. That's next week. So I've got a little bit of time, so I'll add that to I'll add that to the weekly watch.
I was actually waiting for the second part of Fire Force so I could watch the whole thing, but I feel like I should probably go ahead and kick that off right now.
It gets weird.
Yeah, I mean, Fire Force definitely gets weird, so I'm not surprised by that.
It gets weird.
Yeah, so not a surprise at all.
It'll be nice. It'll be nice to have that in Jujutsu Kaisen back. To be honest, if you asked me to explain Jujutsu Kaisen to you, I'd be like,
Yeah, that was another one that's
you
kind of weird as well. So
I'd be
I
like,
get you.
hold on. I'm looking for the right. I'm literally looking for um, the right sound effect. I don't even know if I have something that helps me explain Jujutsu Kaisen in like a sound bite. Nope, 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 nope. That doesn't work either. Nope, that doesn't. Nope, nope, that doesn't. That doesn't work either. But yeah, that's at the end. But at the end of the day, I'm happy to have it back.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh no, I don't. You know what? This one actually works.
The things that make you say,
There you go.
So
It could be more along the lines of,
What you talking about, Will?
or
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
so yeah.
Right. So yeah, if you're watching the video version, you can see me scrolling through stuff, and there was definitely some things that I need to catch up. I definitely need to catch up on Digimon Breakbeat or Beat Break, excuse me. That new Samurai Troopers not spin-off, I guess the sequel or whatever that is out there, or it's coming out there. When is that one actually? That one is soon, if not already out there. It looks like. Trigun, I need to catch back up on that, and yeah, a few other things. So it's a good time for the anime folks to
Right, that's the remake, right, of
eat.
Trigun.
Basically, yeah. Kind of a remake. It's not necessarily a reboot. But I guess is more of a remake of it than anything. So, but yeah, but it was good stuff.
Yeah,
So
I was about to say, My Hero Academia Vigilantes is.
Yeah, I mentioned that already.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I didn't realize that I have to add that to my watch list also.
Right. So yeah, stuff's out there, folks, and it's a good time. It is a good time indeed. Next up, though, Shiro Masamune's stories. Actually, Appleseed is getting a deluxe treatment from Dark Horse Manga. So if you know Appleseed from mainly the anime, like I do, you may or may not have known, or you probably did know, you just hadn't read it, that it had a manga. And Dark Horse is putting out a 3-book deluxe edition of it, which will include the Appleseed Companion Deluxe Edition, collects Appleseed Hypernotes and Hyperseed ID, and also let's see, the Anthology Deluxe Edition, which collects Black Magic, Orion, Dominion, and Dominion Conflict #1, which I'm wondering if that has anything to do with Dominion Tank Police. I'm almost fairly certain it does, but I don't. Yes, it does. In fact, looking at the thing now, which I did not know there was more than that than the show, the manga on the show. Which, hey, I like Dominion Tank Police. It was pretty good. But yeah, the stuff is going to be out. Let's see, August 11th and 12th of this year for $69.99. I'm assuming a piece. Or no, that's just for the one thing. And I guess all of these are being collected together, so yeah, it's all one big hardcover thing. So cool. If that is of interest to you, you can check this out in the show notes. Next up.
Alrighty. Dragon Ball Super's last chapter set the stage for Goku training Pawn. So one of the most saddest. That's a lot of gibberish. So that's Goku's granddaughter, the daughter of Gohan, and
Fidel.
In Dragon Ball Super's timeline, Pawn's young age understandably kept her out of the spotlight, but now we're getting back to the time skip, I guess, or the time jump. That is at the end of Super, kind of circling back to where we end Z, and we have Pawn now being trained by Goku. or hints of it at least.
Yes. So I was about to say this is also where we start to see where GT gets skipped over, but that's not fully the case because GT was a little bit after Z, regardless of whether no one admits to it or not. I would be one of those people, but still. So, and actually it kind of mentions GT here as well. So yeah, therein lies that. I need to catch up on Super. That's all there is to it. I have not caught up on that. But now we get into some comic book news.
Well, this is the manga.
Yeah, I know, but I still need to watch the show. So,
gotcha. Alrighty, give me 1 second to catch up. Oh, you're not going to do this this story awards roundup?
That is comic book news.
Oh, my bad. Comic book news.
So, according to Comics Beat, we are now in awards season for stuff. Comic-Con International has announced that submissions are now been open for the 2026 Eisner Awards. The deadline will be March 13th. And there's a short list that will be announced in May, and winners declared at San Diego Comic-Con this Friday, July 24th at obviously Comic-Con weekend. Then there's also the Graphics Medicine International Collective Awards and Cartoonist Prize. I did not know there was this many. That's all the reason why I put this article in here. But the Cartoonist Studios Prize opens for submission, so I guess that's another award thing. I guess eligible works have to be produced into English and first released in print and or online digital between January 1st and January 31st of 2025. And the deadline is February 28th of this year. And the winners will receive $500 each. Shortlist and winners will be announced in April. There's another comics award thing, and there's some contenders there. British Book Awards is also starting up their stuff. So yeah, awards we're on award tour with the comics, my man. Going each and every place with the comic in my hand. Anyway, next up,
Berkeley Breathids Bloom Country, that is, was one of the last great mega hit comic strips of physical newspapers, running daily from 1980 to 1989, then sporadically in various spin-offs and formats in newspapers until 2009. It had a satirical mix of politics and small-town humor. The strip won the Pulitzer Prize for editorial cartooning in 1987. In 2015, Breathed relaunched the strip digitally on Facebook and Instagram as Bloom County continues. Oh no, I did misread it. It is Bloom County, not Bloom Country. With occasional but regular content featuring Bill the Cat, Milo the Penguin, Steve Dallas, and the rest of the satirical gang. But now Breathed has announced he's moving from Meta-run apps to Patreon, where subscribers will be able to see new content for $3 a month, at least to start. I remember Bloom County.
Oh yeah, it was one of those. It was like, all right, on my way to whatever other comic strip I was going to read. I would check that out to see what they had going on, kind of situation. So it was in the periphery, just not a regular read. Let's just say. Sorry, folks. I'm just adding one more bit of news that Agent 70 might be interested in. I don't know, but it also has to do with awards. So we'll see that in a second. And yes, this is going to get cut out. Don't worry about it. But next up, hang on, I got it. This is, I put it in the wrong place. God damn it. Oh no, I didn't. I'm good. I'm yeah, put more work into it myself. Gah. Y'all are probably seeing this in live and y'all shouldn't. So let's just move on to, hey, guess what, folks? There's a preview for DCKO Boss Battle, and it's Superman versus Homelander. So I'm still looking forward to checking out that one shot, because that Jing's going to seem like that's going to be very, very stupid. Or at the very least bonkers, I would say, and that would fit DC just to a T. So as previously announced, DCKO Boss Battles are upcoming DCKO tie-in, the one shot that sees DC's greatest heroes into a gauntlet of unexpected challenges across comics, horror, fantasy, and gaming. It's going to be available next month on February 4th. And this is going to be the creative team of course, Jeremy Adams and artist Ronan Cliché, or I'm going to say Cliché. I don't know how you pronounce that. My apologies. Carmine Giamenico, Kieran McKeon, Pablo M. Collar, and Hi-Fi. So DC unveiled some preview pages of the tie-in issue, with some flavor text to describe. If you're watching the video version, you can see the cover with the banner "Challengers from Beyond," which is, I guess, would be clever because in a DC kind of way. And there's some variant covers also, including this one right here with Superman and Homelander squaring up, and Joker and Bear from that other book that I can't remember. So yeah, folks, variant covers. Things, stuff. Oh, that one's funny. Anyway, but you can see me scrolling through the variant covers and some unlettered pages right there. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Next up.
Alrighty. Next up. I have a blank here. Should I have something here, or should I jump to the Jack and Ross Kirby Awards?
No, that's it. Yeah, the Jack and Ross Kirby.
Okay. The Jack and Ross Kirby Awards take shape. The three organizations behind the all-new Jack and Ross Kirby Awards have started sharing details about the event, which is set to take place during Original Art Expo weekend in Orlando, Florida next month, February 20th to 22nd. The Jack and Ross Kirby Awards are intended to recognize innovation, excellence, and humanity in narrative communication, according to their mission statement, and that's reflected in the names of their chosen awards. The new awards will cover a total of 7 categories divided into 2 groups called Core or Legacy. The majority of the awards will be pretty open in terms of timescale, but winners become ineligible for re-nomination for a 5-year period. Let's see here. So in terms of Core, independents, creators who have carved their own paths free of commercial demands or censorship. Innovator, those who explore unique avenues of the medium in terms of ideas in technique and delivery. Visionary, those whose work is strikingly original. Newcomer, rewarding those earlier in their artistic career. And storyteller, those who communicate powerful stories. Legacy are teachers and creators. Okay. Yeah, that's, you know what? There's a lot of ways these awards can go.
I was thinking about that, especially for a couple of them, because a couple of them seem a little potentially broad. I don't know. I assume they worked all that out, though. And I feel like that Legacy, I feel like we know of somebody who would probably, at the very least, be in the running for one of the Legacy ones. So we'll see if that comes out. So yeah, I don't know. This was interesting. I just saw this a couple of minutes ago. Apparently, there's some names involved with this. So the creator-only voting committee for the inaugural edition of the Jack and Ross Kirby Awards comprises of Dean Haspio, Jimmy Palmiotti, Eli Schwab, Tom Scioli, and Allison Sohm. There's folks on the Oversight Commission, including Tracy Kirby and Tom Kraft and Kazra Granbari. The advisory board consists of Rodney Barnes, Julie Bell. I'm not going to go through all of these names, but just a couple of that you folks may or may not know. Adam Kubert, Chris Royale, ICV2 columnist Rob Salkowicz, excuse me. Bunch of folks involved in this. So, that seems some credible legitimacy. I cannot talk tonight to this. So, hopefully we will see and or hear, categories, awards, and all that kind of stuff, and we'll report back about, who won things next month. Also, Original Art Expo weekend in Orlando. I'm wondering if one friend of the show, Matt Wang, will be at this.
Right, I was thinking the same thing.
Because it seemed like something he would have on his radar. So I might have to ask him.
I mean, the timing is different because it's in February, at the end of February. I don't know what how he would be able to squeeze that in, but it is an East Coast travel thing, so it's not like it's going to be that far away.
Right. Yeah, you're just coming down this way.
It's just getting down to Orlando, Florida, right?
So, but we'll see. Like I said, we'll report back on what we found out about this thing.
It's one thing to have to, it's one thing to have to cross the country, but that's not so bad.
Yeah, you're just coming down the side, you're fine, or less, or as fine as you're gonna get for having to travel.
Exactly.
Next up, though, Star Wars' hunt for the Millennium Falcon is finished, but the search isn't over yet. And apparently, this is major spoilers for Star Wars Han Solo: The Hunt for the Falcon #5, which is out this week, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, I hadn't had a chance to read this book, and I probably shouldn't even read this article, but I feel like the name kind of gives itself away, and I think this is taking place before Force Awakens. So I think we know what happens to the Falcon in Force Awakens. So I guess this is just kind of putting pieces in place to kind of get to before that. Also, Rodney Barrows, Ramon Rosanas, Guru EFX, and VC's Joe Caramagna is the creative team for this book. So there you go. But apparently, Hans got into a lot of stuff during the course of this book, and Chewie. So there you go. That's it. Not want to give too much away from it, especially for myself, but hey, that is out there. Next up,
one of the greatest heroes of all time has just been reimagined as an absolute terror in the Ultimate Universe. This is spoilers for Ultimates number 19 that we talked about last week. Yeah, so we're basically talking about this Ultimate version of the Vision.
Yeah. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up, because I kind of teased this last week, but the reason why I bring this up is because of the article title here, which says the newest Ultimate just killed one of Marvel's greatest heroes, which is slightly hyperbolic. Not hyperbolic, but it's also definitely wrong in a sense. Because if you know anything about what happens in that book and who he dealt with, and if you've been keeping up with what's going on in the Ultimate Universe, that character kind of was not alive in the first place, in a way, in one sense. Right. So didn't really kill anybody that hadn't already been dealt with. But hey, it makes for a good, good splashy title, I guess. And also Ultimate Vision came in with a bang. So
yeah, because I'm reading this like, what happened? And then I'm like, oh, that's what they're referring to. That's a little bit much.
Exactly. So that's why I was like, because when I read that last week, I was like, really? But which in a way it kind of got me, but at the same time, I was like, well, I know better. So that's why I wanted to kind of be like, no, it's not exactly like this article is kind of hyping it up to be. It's not exactly like that. But again, you would have to know, what happened to that character, what has been going on with that character during the course of the Ultimate Universe, or this version of the Ultimate Universe. So it is what it is. Hey, it got us to talk about it, but that was only my fault. Next up, though, which I wish I had read this one, actually. The end of the Ultimate X-Men takes things back to the beginning. So this also contains spoilers for Ultimate X-Men 23, which is actually out this week. I didn't have to get a chance to read it because I am dreadfully behind on that book. So yeah, apparently, let's see. Ultimate X-Men 23 replays the events of the past 22 issues from a whole new point of view, specifically that of Makoto Amano, who's been watching the entire story unfold around him and manipulating those involved to ensure his own revenge over the children of the Atom, and aka the Shadow King. So yeah, kind of slight spoilers there, but yeah. Of course, all of this came to a great cost, though none seemed too high for someone else to pay where Amano is concerned. So, if you've been keeping up with Ultimate X-Men and you've actually keeping a track of what the hell's going on in that book, good on you. And this character that was mentioned was first seen in the pages of Ultimate X-Men #4, which I was about to joke and say that was the last issue I read, but that's not exactly true. Because I got up to like 10 but before I kind of dropped off of it. So, but yeah, things are things in that because the Ultimate Universe is coming to an end anyway. So and they still haven't really kind of incorporated this book. So that's what I was kind of wondering. Next up.
Alrighty. Pre-order reminder. Hasbro Marvel Legends series Kitty Pryde and Colossus 2-pack was earlier today. It is sold out on Hasbro Pulse. I checked this out of morbid curiosity in the afternoon, long after I had already made my pre-order. I believe it is still available on Amazon, on Big Bad Toy Store, on Entertainment Earth, and a lot of other places.
Oh my goodness. Sorry, I was looking at
approximate retail price is $55.99. It's actually, believe it or not, was cheaper on Hasbro Pulse. Yeah. That's probably why people flocked there once they were able to do some comparison price shopping.
Of course. If you're watching the video version, you can see me flipping through some pictures of the trio. And yes, it is a trio because we will not discount Lockheed.
Right.
In any way, shape, or form. But yeah, there you go. There's it. I mean, good looking figures. Hey.
Yeah, no, the Shadowcat is pretty cool. I'm kind of in between on the Colossus, but I'll wait to see the product when I get it in hand.
Sure. And like I said, we got a little Lockhart minifigure to boot, which, you know what? Deserving of a bigger figure. I was looking at this one on the side though, where there apparently I missed last month, the Hypno Hustler figure that was apparently out from that Spider-Man line. They did a Hypno Hustler and Cardiac.
Yes,
and that's both of those are funny to me.
Yes. They are in a Spider-Man line that I really don't have much interest in getting.
Yeah.
Like Cardiac? Really?
Right. Yeah, that was my thinking. I was like, Cardiac, that's weird. But Hypno Hustler, that's even crazier. That's actually kind of one that I would probably just get for like, you know what, this is dumb. I'd get this, but I'm probably wrong.
There are some completionists out there, man.
There are.
Like I am a level of completionist that Roddykat and I were discussing earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I am not that level.
Yeah, and I am far from that level. So, but you know, but like I said, there's some of them that be like, you know what, this is dumb. Why not? Just for that. But anyway, last that just reminded me something I needed to do very quickly. So Star Trek vets Brent Spiner and Jonathan Frakes announced his new podcast series, and I think Agent 70 is probably doing what I'm thinking I needed to go ahead and do.
Oh no, I took care of that.
Oh.
I happened to get some text messages that I needed to just minimize.
I got you. But yes, Brent Spiner and Jonathan Frakes announces a new podcast series. You know those names. You know those folks if you're a Star Trek fan. And if you don't, I don't know what to tell you. But apparently and I watched the trailer for this, but their new podcast is called Dropping Names and Other Things. So it is not, and they make it clear in the trailer that it is not a Star Trek podcast, but it will probably come up. It will probably definitely come up. So it is what it seemed like is just them telling stories and having people on to tell stories about, folks they've met in situations they've been in that they didn't think they were going to be into with other celebs or whatever the case may be. Therein lies that. And according to this, the first guest that is going to be up is none other than LeVar Burton, aka Geordi LaForge, aka Mr. Reading Rainbow, etc., etc., etc. I was going to go back to roots, but at this point, But yeah, so responding to Trek Movies post about the podcast, this tweet revealed that LeVar Burton is definitely going to be the one that is going to be the first guest on their show. So they've got a YouTube channel out there. It's going to be on Apple and Spotify. So all the places you would grab your podcasts, whether video or audio. So therein lies that. And this also mentions the other Trek folks that have their own podcasts. So good times, good stuff. And that, folks, is the end of the news. Let's get one last ad read in, actually.
All righty, our last ad read of the night. Keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us, then click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or even Marvel Legends. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment that helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Now, if you shop at Amazon often, bookmark the link or add it as your homepage so that you can help the CSPN each time you order. We thank you for your support. Amazon.com through CSPN.us. Do it today.
All right, folks, that is it for this here show. Another Smalley one. Is that going to be something indicative of how this year is going to go? Probably not. But, hey, it's nice if we can get them where we can.
That's right.
I have been Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter and Blue Sky. You can find me at News Need on Twitter and Blue Sky. You can find me at CPCaps on Instagram. Agent_7 on Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, and Threads. And you can find this here podcast on the Cold Slither Podcast Network, the CSPN.us.
Do it today.
And of course, you can find us on your podcast place of choice, whether it be Apple iTunes, Google Play, Apple iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Cold Slither Podcast Network SoundCloud page. But you can also find us recording every Thursday night, usually 9:30, probably more closer to 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, on youtube.com/TheKliqNation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts. Hit that notification button on the videos option so that you will know when we are on live. Smash that like button.
Indeed. And that's it for us, folks. We're out of here. Drink your water, be good, do your Duolingo, or try to keep up with your resolutions. Stay out the gym so other people, if you're not going to go to the gym, stay out the gym so other people can get to it.
For goodness sake, that's what I'm telling you. I don't think I'm going back to the gym until the beginning of February. I'm just going to be doing my strength, like whatever I can at home, getting some road work in. Maybe we'll see. But at the end of the day, I'm staying the hell away from the gym until at least January ends.
Yeah. But you know what? Hey, at the very least, try to have some conviction in if you're doing resolutions, and try to keep over them. You know, try to make some good goals for yourself during the course of this year, and try to get the bad goals and bad people out of here forever. Not in a threatening way, but I'm just saying, you know, out of your life at the very least. But with that, folks, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.
Salute, mi familia.
Salute.
Good evening, Brent. Would you believe it's Dr. Doom?
What's on your evil mind?
Hold your insulting tongue and mock my words well.
How about this rumor that you are really Iron Man, Mr. Stark?